AskReddit by Drew Drove. What fictional villain do you think is actually right? Iceman in Top Gun. He was absolutely right. Maverick was dangerous. He was a threat to himself, his co-pilot, and every other friendly airplane out there. The Navy, and other aerial units, really truly don't roll that way. Iceman was the best pilot in the sky and every criticism he threw at Maverick was correct. Legal Eagle on YouTube did a video on this with an actual SJAG officer. Every other scene was that's a court-martial and that's a court-martial. When people age, they start to realize that Squidward just wanted to live a quiet life, go home and play the clarinet in Bikini Bottom. Yes. Plus the Krusty Krab is a crappy place to work run by a cheap boss who tries to get free labor from his employees. Squidward has every right to be unhappy working there. Mr. Leahy from Trailer Park Boys. Dealing with the people in Sunnyvale would be exhausting and in reality they would be seen as the bad guys. There's a shitnado coming. The shark from Jaws was just being a shark. The villain in Jaws was the mayor though. Captain Hook both from Disney's Peter Pan and Hook, he's not necessarily right but Peter Pan isn't exactly a saint, either. I agree. That little green shit was a menace. Mr. Freeze. Just wanted to save his wife. Fun fact, the animated series created that backstory. Mutuo. Giovanni was the actual villain of the Pokémon movie. Malware from Ben 10, Omniverse. I mean dude was honestly right and I felt bad for him. Sure he became an evil maniac later on, but all he wanted at first was affection from his own creator. He was corrupted with a life code that caused him to go insane and become deformed and wanted to be cured of it. But his creator literally did nothing to cure him to get rid of his insanity, which led him to become a villain and a problem for Ben to deal with. What and number 039's even worse is that his creator only saw him as a failed experiment and not a living being in need of help. It and number 039's like a kid not getting the help and care from their parent. If we're being honest, like 80% of all villains in the Ben 10 series would be defeated not happened if someone made Azimuth learn how to play well with others. Meets a dude who's a 800-year-old Roman general in the Middle Ages who's fighting Lovecraftian monsters. The guy says finally someone I can actually talk to without being burned at the stake. Azimuth throws a sword at him and says I don't want to. So he goes let's just say no to aliens. Gore, the god slayer from Thor Love and Thunder. He was right. The gods were selfish jerks pleasing themselves and for the most part ignoring the needs of their followers. Ike in the comics that actually caused Thor to become unworthy. Nick Fury told him Gore was right and boom, Thor's no longer the god of hammers. The older I get the more I relate more to Principal Vernon in The Breakfast Club. Most of those kids, especially Bender, were disrespectful jerks. You really think I give a damn what they think of me? Yeah, you do, Richard. Medusa. Athena be all like I know how you won't get raped by a god. I'll turn you into a monster. The Wicked Witch of the West. Dorothy inadvertently killed her sister, and then stole her shoes. The witch had every right to hate her. It wasn't Dorothy. It was the tornado and Glinda. Those are the real villains. Wreck-It Rafe. Why didn't Felix just build him his own home? They forced him to live in a dump and sleep on a pile of bricks. At the end of the movie, Felix builds multiple homes for other video game characters in the blink of an eye. You're telling me Felix is the hero, but never once thought to ask Rafe if he wanted something other than a pile of bricks to sleep on? I never saw Felix as a hero, just someone who didn't want to challenge the status quo. Ultron. Dude was connected to the internet for half a second and said yeah, I'm killing them all. In relation to this Zemo. If I saw my whole family killed by the Avengers as collateral damage I'd probably want to murder them too. Taelung, you knew that I was the dragon warrior. You always knew. https://yahoo.be/u3lftv2sil0?SIBTXB6 Taelung is such a tragic villain. Imagine being fed delusions your whole life and being forced to train every day until your body breaks for years, only to find out the truth and have all those years of your life wasted. I wouldn't say he was right. He killed all those rhino guards and beat up the Furious Fives, but there are reasons behind his actions. The Cramps were grown adults that decided not to participate in a religious holiday they didn't believe in and were ostracized, bullied and turned on by their community for it. They even donated money to charity as always. What annoys me the most is how their community immediately flipped back to friendly the second they gave in to their peer pressure. What kind of cult mentality is this shit? I'm currently reading Jimmy Carter's biography and this is verbatim how segregationists treated anyone that didn't vocally join and help their efforts. Tom. From Tom and Amp, Jerry. Tom was never the villain. He was a house cat. He lived there. The owners of the house wanted him there. Jerry was a pest, an unwelcome intruder who broke into their home, stole their food, destroyed their property, and repeatedly attempted to murder their pet. Jerry is and always was the villain, objectively and indisputably. General Hummel from The Rock. I searched for The Rock before posting this answer myself as it's the first one I thought of. He was right that the next of kin deserved that money. He was right that the Pentagon were the bad guys. But the whole nerve gas thing might not have been the way to go about it. Pierce Brosnan's character in Ms. Doubtfire. He was a pretty nice dude and really cared for the new family. He also put up with the nanny's shenanigans. The Grinch. Fuck them who's. The traitor from The Matrix. If it looks like steak, smells like steak and tastes like steak, then that's good enough for me. Given the choice of fake 1990s or real post-apocalypse wasteland, I'll take the 90s thanks. Cypher Ike. The exterminator guy from the Ant Bully. Dude was just trying to do his job to stop an insect infestation and yet gets attacked by an army of wasps and ants. In defense of child me, he did really get a sick kick from it. Magneto. Magneto may not be 100% in the right, but in any version of the X-Men where Sentinels exist, it's kinda hard to argue that he's wrong about war against mutants being inevitable. Wile E. Coyote. Roadrunner was a right cunt. Well yeah, but Coyote was hunting him for food. Zemo from Captain America, Civil War. His family and thousands of others were killed in Sokovia. Ultron wasn't some random alien villain who showed up hellbent on destruction or whatever. He was created by Tony Stark and consequently he is solely responsible for the deaths of the Sokovian citizens. Zemo shouldn't have killed Black Panther's dad though. I completely blame Tony Stark for Ultron and for giving out his address to his house to the bad guys, where innocent Pepper also lived.